Good morning, good afternoon. This is the Melodicinvestor. My name is Antoine, and today in this video, I just wanted to cover a couple of topics on how you can save money on your lease immediately. Now, let me put a caveat there. It doesn't mean you're going to save instantly, but this may help you save some money. So let's get right to it. First thing is I'm going to go through all the different types of leasing there is through different industries. So you have your commercial, and then within commercial you have different segments like warehouse, restaurants, food carts, etc. And then on residential you have some different asset types as well. You have your large multifamily, which is your high-rise apartments and things of that nature, and then you have your small multifamily, or mid to small, I'd say, multifamily, which is typically held by like small mom and pop investors. So let's get right into it. Why don't we start from the small and go to large? As far as your small multifamily, now, this is where I think most people will or can save the most money across all leases, in my opinion. If you find a small mom and pop investor who is looking to, just keep the place full and rent it out, and you don't have to worry about as the owner, you don't have to worry about people turnover, because that is the biggest cost any small multifamily, well, any owner really across all platforms will see is turnover. That can kill any deal. So this is what I recommend as a property manager. For those of you who don't know, I've been in the industry for about almost close to 20 years. I've worked on both sides. I've worked for the residential side, and now I strictly work on the commercial side of in real estate. So small multifamily, duplex or house, duplex, triplex, quad, even your 5 to 10 unit property, you may be able to get some wiggle room in those leases. And here's how. Talk to the owner. If maybe you don't have that relationship with the owner, you can talk to the owner's representative, which is a person like myself, which would be like the property manager or even a leasing agent or real estate agent, whichever they prefer, or whichever they use. Reach out and lock in, see if you have, one, the opportunity to lock in a longer lease. Two, see if there's something you can do to ease some of that financial burden off of the owners. Everyone loves that, whether it be mowing the yard every other week. If you're handy, or someone who is handy, like if it's a husband and a wife team, or significant other, whatever, see if you could, if you're handy with tools or whatever, you could fix something. Hey, I'll clean the gutters twice a year, spring and fall. I'll do a little maintenance. Something comes up, I'm the person you can call first. If you have that skill set. If you don't, well, everyone could mow grass. Everyone could blow the yards out with leaves, for leaves. What are some of the other common things that come up? If you, depending on what climate you live in, snowing, like if it's snowing outside, you could shovel snow. You could be that first line of defense. If there's a plumbing issue or whatever, you don't have to be a plumber, but even knowing how to respond and shut the water off and things of that nature are huge assets to any owner, especially a small mom and pop owner. I mean, that's something that would go a very long way. And then in addition to that, locking in your lease longer. If they're agreeable, say, hey, really love it here. I paid on time regularly, and life happens. Sometimes you can't always pay on time, which you should, but life's. So I would say, if long as it's a reasonable explanation there on why you were late, because they will look at, before any owner gives you any concession or any break or anything like that, they're going to look at your history and see okay, how many times has this person been late, in the last 12 months. So that's not uncommon, just so you know, and that's, again, across the industry. So those are a couple ideas to at least get you thinking in that direction, how you can save money instantly. And most owners would probably, especially smaller ones, probably sign that deal immediately, because for lending purposes, it definitely looks better on paper having longer leases in place. And there might be a slight increase. Maybe they had it set to where they were going to give you 2-3%, maybe even 5%. With the way things are going now, depending on what market you're in, But maybe they'll say, okay, we'll just give you a 2% bump, or maybe we'll freeze this first year. That's just a technical term called, freezing is when you usually have a multi-year lease. You freeze the first part, so whatever you agree to initially, the second year is the same, and then third year is where you'll see the rent bump. So that's generally how that works. So that's kind of really all you can do as far as for the small multifamily stuff, is really just how can I help the owner maintain his or her asset. That's the biggest thing you can do to save money on your lease. Why don't we move over to larger multifamily? Those are your apartments. These are your, expensive high rises and things of that nature. Be honest with you, there's not a lot you can do there. Not a whole lot of wiggle room, especially the way they price it and the way they look at the market. But generally, the people who are leasing those types of spaces, concessions really don't really, they're not looking to get concessions as much. So nothing really to address there, unless I'm missing something. Feel free to comment below, let me know. Thirdly would be commercial, moving on to commercial. So let's dissect that piece by piece. So if we're looking at a office space, a small office space, your IT company, startup, whatever. I even had like a video company. One of the ways you can help the owner save the most money, like in a traditional triple net lease, is to get a longer lease. You're going to renegotiate terms to where you can get like a 5-year lease. A lot of owners, or even a 3-year lease, a lot of owners would jump on that immediately. And that's where I talked about freezing. You could freeze the first year, and then first and second, maybe. If you have a 5-month lease, sometimes they'll freeze the first 2 years. And then after that, you will get 3% bumps. 3% is typically your standard rent increases as you progress through that lease terms. So that's really in commercial, honestly, across the board. That is the quickest way to save money, because you're going to know what payment you're going to be paying for the next 5 years. And if you get it frozen for the first 2, that's even better yet. So you could just use that to negotiate your terms. The other thing is, again, if you find a small operator who has commercial property and you're able to say, hey, I'm willing to pull the weeds out in front of the storefront or whatever. I'm willing to pressure wash the sidewalks. Obviously there's some insurance things there. So, not everyone's going to go for this, but some people may. You never know. Got to ask. I'm a big proponent in asking. Doesn't mean you'll always get what you want, but at least you've made your intentions known. The other thing you could do is, say, hey, I'm willing to help maintain, if you have indoor plants and that nature, I'm willing to help maintain those plants. If you could cut down on the plant contracts, you'd be surprised how expensive plant contracts are. This is for indoor office, multi-users. Those are pretty hefty contracts. So if you're able to do that, the other thing is just being more mindful of, I don't want to say be a snitch, but if there are people in the building misusing the building, saying something. I can't tell you how many times I've had tenants leave doors open, and the air conditioning's running. Obviously, that's going to be an expense. So those are things you could kind of be thinking about. But the biggest thing in commercial, honestly, the longer lease, that provides security for both parties. Provides security for the tenants, meaning like they have that comfort in knowing, okay, for the next 5 years, I can weather this storms or whatever based on this monthly payment, and then everything else falls into place after that. It provides security for the owner, because they're like, okay, for the next 5 years, that space is locked up. I don't have to worry about it. I love the tenant. We have a great relationship. Good to go. So that's those are some of the things that I would look at if I was looking at the commercial space. Let's say you have a commissary kitchen, right? You have a commissary kitchen, and there's it's mixed use. Let's say a mixed use property. Let's say you have 2 kitchens on the bottom floor, and then these are you have a small apartment upstairs. Okay, I've managed a property like this before. I would, if it were me, first thing I would do is, if my business was strong enough and I had the resources, I'd ask the owner if I can purchase it. I think that's the most, now I understand not everyone's in that position, but that would be a goal that I would be working towards, because one, the property's 9 times out of 10 is going to be leased, and you're a tenant there, so you're going to know what's going on. So that's something I would look into. And that's probably a really good way you can control your complete overhead. Now, owning a property, there's a lot involved. However, you can always find someone to help you manage it. Or you can get skilled up. Come to a place, YouTube University, and there's a lot of great content creators there, like myself, shameless plug. So those are just some things that you could be thinking about, These are definitely a little more shakier times we're entering into, or we are already in. But saving money on your lease can help your business, can help your pocketbook, because, we know things are getting expensive on the residential side. And lastly, just so everyone understands how this works, sometimes the owner is just a choice. We don't think about this, and I don't mean this to be political in any way, but when it comes to voting, sometimes that can have an impact on, and I'm not talking about presidential, I'm talking about state and local. State and local, in my opinion, is where you're going to have the most effect when it comes to how your standard of living. So your local taxes, state and local taxes, that plays a huge role in owning real estate, and anyone who owns real estate understands that. And if you don't, just a quick education, as an owner, there's nothing you can do to control your taxes and insurance. Nothing. And 9 times out of 10, that is the driver of expenses in real estate. It's taxes and insurance. Nothing you can do. They have programs out there where you can, some cities and states will allow you to pay like a third in the beginning, third type of thing, or if you pay it all up front, you'll get a 5% discount. There are little programs like that they can do, but by and large, the owner is kind of like, hands are tied. And if they don't keep up with those increases, and some cities that are having, like, especially mass exodus, they're really feeling it, because that's a tax base that is left, and these owners have to make up ground somehow, and the only way to do that, unfortunately, is to raise rent. There's really no other way. I mean, you can trim costs for sure, which is why I'm saying, like, this is a tactic you can use and keep that in your back pocket when it comes time for negotiations. Be willing to get your hands dirty and do some more work, even if it's painting the curb out front, whatever. Whatever you could do to help that owner save his costs on his controllables, like maintenance, things like that. The uncontrollables, taxes, insurance, and any major event that happens, new roof, HVAC, all those things. So those are just some ideas to at least get you thinking about it. But again, moral of the story is, one, how can I be an asset and help keep those controllables down in any way? If you're handy, great. 2, get a longer lease. Those are the ways that I think that most people could benefit from lowering their monthly expenses when it comes to their lease. Hope that was helpful. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and share this content with other people. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have. My contact information is in the description below. Take care. Bye.